Hi, I'm Nikki from Find Me Crafting. Each month, I'm releasing a new pattern that goes to the Cuddle Buddies Baby Blanket. It's called the Cuddle Buddies because it has adorable little animal appliques all over it. There will be 9 appliques total at the end of the year. So far, we have the Calico Cat, that cute little happy cow, and this month we're adding this adorable bunny. All of these patterns are available for free on my website. The link is in the description box down below. They're all beginner friendly, and this is a full tutorial. I will walk you through step by step how to make this cute bunny. Come on, I'll show you how. And if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so that you don't miss any new patterns or projects. So this adorable little bunny I made with Hobby Lobby's I Love This yarn in Gray Beard. So it's a little bit of a darker gray. Today I feel like going a little lighter. So today I'm going to be working with Hobby Lobby's I Love This yarn in Gray Mist. So you'll be able to see the difference at the end. I'll show you the comparison between the two. I'm also going to be working with Hobby Lobby's I Love This yarn in white, pink, and black. Yes, those are actually the super creative titles of these colors. So I'm going to begin working on the head itself. So I am going to be using the Gray Mist yarn and a G 4mm hook. I'm going to start by doing a magic circle. I'm going to cross it over my fingers, reach through and pull up a loop. If you have any trouble with magic circles or magic rings, whatever you want to call it, I will put a link up here for a tutorial that'll walk you through it a little slower. I'm going to chain 1 just to secure it. I'm going to do 8 single crochets in my magic circle. So I'm going to go down, pull up a loop. I have 2 loops on, yarn over, pull through. That's 1. So down, pull up a loop, 2 loops on, yarn over, that's 2. I'm going to do 6 more for a total of 8. And now I'm going to just use my little tail to tighten the magic circle so we close that hole. And I'm going to slip stitch to my first single crochet. I'm going to go under both loops, grab the loop, pull it through, and then through the loop on my hook. So there's the start. I'm going to chain 1, and now I'm ready for row 2. And in row 2, I'm going to do 2 single crochets in each stitch. So in this same stitch that I slip stitched to, I'm going to go underneath the loops, pull up a loop. I have 2 loops on, yarn over, pull through. That's 1. Now in this same stitch, we're going to increase. And that means we're just going to do 2 stitches in this same stitch. So there's 2 loops on, yarn over, pull through. So there's 2 in that stitch. Now I'm going to do 2 in the next stitch. And I'm going to do that all the way around. It'll give me a total of 16 single crochets. And back around to where I started, I'm going to slip stitch under that first single crochet and chain 1. Now I'm ready for row 3. We're going to do 2 single crochets in the first stitch. So there's 1, and in the same stitch, here's 2. And then in the next stitch, we just do 1. Now we repeat that pattern. So 2 in this stitch and 1 in the next. And then 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, all the way around. That'll give you a total of 24 single crochets in this row. Back around to where I started, I'm going to slip stitch under the first single crochet, chain 1, and we're ready for row 4. In this row, we're going to start with 1 single crochet in this first one, then 2, and then 1. And that's the pattern, that's the repeat. So we do 1, then 2, and then 1. 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 1, all the way around. It'll give you a total of 32 stitches. Once again, I'm back around to where I started. I'm going to slip stitch and chain 1. I'm now ready for row 5. And if you ever want to count, you just count your rings. Here's 1, 2, 3, and 4. So now I'm on to row 5. And if your circle here in the middle with your magic circle starts to open, do not stress, because I will show you how to tuck this end in and it will lock that tight and in place and it's never going to come loose. but you don't need to stress about it right now. So our pattern for row 5 is 2 single crochets in the first stitch and then 3 singles. So in this stitch 1, in this stitch another 1, and in this stitch another 1. And that's our pattern, that's our repeat. So 2 in 1 and then 3 singles. 1, 2, and 3 singles. So 2, 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, 1, all the way around. It will give you a total of 40 stitches. Back around to where I started, I'm gonna slip stitch under the first single crochet and chain 1. Now we're ready to begin our 6th and final row for the head. So our pattern for this row is a single in the first, a single in the next, then 2 in the same stitch, and then 2 more singles. So let's repeat that pattern. We have a single, and then a double, and then 2 more singles. So single, single, double, single, 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 double, single, single. You're gonna do that all the way around, and you will have a total of 48 stitches. So I'm back to where I started. I'm going to slip stitch under my first stitch, and then I'm going to cut myself a tail. I want to leave myself a longer tail because I am going to use that to sew the head onto the blanket. So I'm just going to finish off by pulling this through. And now I want to show you how to close your magic circle so that it's never going to come open again. So you need to pull it tight. You want it to close. And you're going to use your yarn needle here. Now you can tell that the way my yarn goes, I went in this direction clockwise, and you pull it that way to tighten it. And now I'm going to weave underneath the stitches of that magic circle and going in the same direction. You go under a few stitches and you pull it through and then go under a couple more. So you basically just go around the entire circle. And that's holding it in place now. It is tight. So you can cut this off and your magic circle is closed. So the head itself is finished for right now. Now I'm going to begin making the muzzle or the mouth or whatever it's called on a cute little bunny. I'm using white yarn, and I'm going to start with a slip knot. And I'm going to chain 7. 1, 2, dropped my loop, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Now to begin, I'm going to work in the second chain from the hook. Here's where my hook's going to be, this big loop here. There's the first chain. I'm going to begin working right here in this second chain. And in that second chain, I'm going to do 1 single crochet. Then in the next chain, I'm going to do a half double crochet. So yarn over, go underneath that loop, pull up a loop. You have 3 loops on. Yarn over and pull through. Now I'm going to do a double crochet. So I yarn over, I go underneath that loop, I pull up a loop. There are 3 loops on. Now I'm going to yarn over and go under just 2 of them, and then yarn over and go under the other 2. Now I'm going to do another double crochet just like I did. So go underneath, pull up a loop, yarn over under 2, yarn over under 2 more. Now I'm going to do 1 half double crochet. So underneath, pull up a loop, yarn over and go through all 3. And then in this last chain over here that we haven't worked in, I'm going to do 3 single crochets in that 1 chain. So go underneath, yarn over, there's 1. And now I'm going to go underneath, pull up another one, here's 2. And as I'm doing that, I'm turning the work around. And in this same stitch, I'm going to do 1 more, the 3rd single crochet. So we started over here, we did these, and now we have turned the work, and we're going to begin working on the opposite side of the chain. So in this first stitch, I'm going to do 1 single crochet. Then in the next, I'm going to do a half double. The one after that, I need to do 1 double crochet, and then another double crochet, and then another half double. And in this last stitch over here, I'm going to do 3 single crochets. 1, 2, and 3. And we are once again turning. So that's our first row, our first round. I'm going to slip stitch under that first stitch that I did way back at the start. So now I want to work one more sort of row, but just across this side. We're done with the opposite side. But right here on this side, I'm in that same stitch, I'm going to do a single crochet. In the next stitch, I'm going to do a half double crochet. In the stitch after that, I'm going to do a double. The stitch next to that is another double. Now another half double. And I'm going to do a single crochet right here. And to finish, I'm going to slip stitch under the stitch next to that. Just a slip stitch right here. And you're done. And if you have any gaps where you've kind of stretched things as you were working on the opposite side, when you weave in this end, just kind of go across them and you can close all of that up. Next up, I'm going to be working on the ears. So I'm using the Gray Mist yarn. I'm going to begin by making a slip knot. And this time I'm going to chain 11. 1, 2, 3. We are once again going to begin working in that second chain from the hook. We're going to do a single crochet in that chain, and then a single crochet in the chain next to that. Then we're going to do a half double, and then in the next chain another half double. Then a double crochet, and in the chain next to that another double crochet, then a half double, and another half double, and now a single crochet. And in this last chain right here by the end, we're going to do 3 single crochets into that chain. So there's 1, and here's 2, and I'm going to add the 3rd. And once again, we are turning the work as we are putting these single crochets into the same stitch. So now we've turned the work. We're going to begin this next section on the opposite side of the chain. This is the one we started with, and now we're working on this side of the chain. So we're going to begin that pattern in reverse. So a single crochet in this first one, now a half double under this loop, another half double under the next loop, now a double crochet, and another double crochet, and now another half double, and another half double, and a single crochet, and a single crochet. I am going to chain 1, and now I'm just going to slip stitch under the very first single crochet that we did, and that is 1 ear. I'm going to cut myself a long tail. I'm going to finish off by pulling my yarn through, and I need to repeat that process to make a second ear. Next up, I'm going to make the paws. I am using more Gray Mist yarn. I'm going to make a magic circle for this one. So I've looped it around my fingers. I'm going to pull up a loop. I'm going to chain 1 to hold it in place. So now, working over both of these pieces of yarn, I'm going to do 8 single crochets into my magic circle. So go underneath, pull up a loop, 2 loops on, yarn over and pull through. That's 1. Go underneath, pull up a loop, yarn over, that's 2. I'm going to do 8, 3, 4. So now I'm going to pull on the starting tail here and pull on that and tighten up my circle. I am going to do a slip stitch under that first single crochet. Gotta get under the loops, there we go. So I'm gonna yarn over and pull it under those loops and under the loop on my hook. I am gonna chain 1. Now, for row 2, which is the final row for the paws, I am not going to go all the way around the circle. So the pattern is 2 single crochets in this first stitch. So there's 1, second one in the same stitch, and now I'm just gonna do 1 in the next stitch. And I'm going to repeat that process just one more time. So here's 2 in this first stitch and 1 in the next. And that's my paw. Look how cute. I am going to slip stitch under this next one just to tie off my end. And I cut myself a long tail because I want to be able to sew this paw onto the blanket. I'm going to finish off by pulling my yarn through. And there's my paw. I am going to close the middle of my magic circle with my starting tail here by weaving it underneath the circle just like I did for the bunny's head to tighten and close that magic circle. The last thing I'm going to make before I begin assembly are the eyes. So I'm using black yarn. I'm going to do a magic circle. So pull up a loop, chain 1 to hold it in place, and I'm just going to put 6 single crochets into my magic circle. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. I'm going to pull on my starting tail to close the circle. And I'm just going to slip stitch under my first stitch, which is hard to see because it's black, but it's there, I promise. You slip stitch under that, and the black portion of the eye is done. I'm going to cut myself a longer tail and finish off by pulling through. I am going to add a little bit of a sparkle to the eye as well. So I'm just going to cut myself a little bit of white yarn. I'm going to thread the yarn onto a yarn needle. And you got to decide which side you want it to be, the top or the bottom. I'm going to put my tails at the bottom, and I'm just going to come up through the back. I'm going to leave some of this yarn hanging off the back so I can knot it. And I'm just going to move over about a stitch and go down. And that's my eye sparkle. That is literally it. I am going to knot this on the back. And I'm not going to weave in the ends for the white. I'm just going to make sure that they are tucked behind the eye when I stitch it on. Make sure you don't pull it tight like I just did, because you lose some of it because I've pulled it down into the black. So I'm just going to loosen that a bit. And then I'm just going to cut myself 2 tiny little tails here. And I'm just going to make sure when I sew the eye on that they are behind the eye so that you can't see it. You need to make another eye, but put the sparkle on the other side so it's on the outside curve of each eye. I'm going to begin embroidering on some details before I attach any of the body parts to the head or to the blanket itself. So this is my muzzle mouth area for the bunny, and I'm going to add the nose. I find it easier to add the nose and then add the mouth than do the opposite. So I'm going to thread some pink yarn onto my yarn needle, and this is the top, the curved area. This is the top of the mouth. And I'm going to come in right underneath the loops up here at the top, and I'm going to pull this through. I want to make sure I leave some on the back so I can knot it to the ends. I'm going to find where I want the center to be, and I'm going to go down to the back side. And now I'm going to come up over here. That's about how wide I want my nose to be. And I'm going to go back down through that same hole in the middle. And there's the nose. I am going to do that again because I want to double it up. You don't have to. I think it looks really good just like that. I just want it to be a little bigger. And I'm just going to repeat the same process. And back down. And there's my nose. So I am going to knot my starting and ending tails together, but don't pull too tight. You do not want it to buckle the fabric on the front. And I'm just gonna cut 2 rather short tails here that I know will be kept to the back when I sew this on. So now I know where the nose is gonna be. It's a little easier to add the mouth. So I'm gonna start in that same stitch where I finished the bottom of the nose with my black yarn. And I'm going to go, I want it to come down here, and then I want to add a bit of a smile. I like my animals to be happy. So I'm going to come almost down to the bottom of my mouth, muzzle area. I'm going to go to the back. Once again, I'm leaving myself a starting tail to knot to. I like how that looks. So now let's try the smile. I tend to have problems here. I tend to have to rip this out a few times before I like it. But I'm going to come up over here where I want the top of my smile to end, and then I'm going to go back down through the same hole that my center was at, and that's one side. Now I want to match it on the other side. I'm going to come up at about the same area, maybe a little bit higher. Nope, that's too high. Yeah, probably here. I'm going to come up through about the same height, and I'm going to go back down through the middle again. And there's my little bunny's mouth. So I'm going to tie my starting and ending tails together. And there is my little bunny's muzzle. I'm just gonna keep calling it a muzzle. I'm not sure that's what it's actually called, but you know what I mean, because that's what I'm gonna refer to it as. So now I'm going to sew the actual muzzle onto the bunny head. So I am once again going to leave my tail near the bottom. It doesn't actually matter where you leave this tail. That's just where I like to put them. And I am going to use my long white tail from the muzzle and my yarn needle. I'm going to go up 2 rows. So there are 2 rows of the head underneath, and I am going to make sure all of my little tails are sticking in the back. And then I'm going to begin sewing. Now there's kind of a gap here from where I slip stitched. And so I want to make sure I cover that so it's even, make sure it's in the middle. I really hate ripping out because I've sewn things on lopsided. It's my least favorite thing. And now I'm just gonna go around, I'm gonna come up through the back and go behind the 2 loops from this last row here of my muzzle. And you have to watch out because your yarn tail from the head is still kind of flopping about. Make sure I'm still in the center because that does not always happen. And now I'm gonna go down underneath the 2 loops of the stitch next to that, and up underneath the loops next to that, and I'm just going to go all the way around till my muzzle is sewn on. Once you have it sewn on, you can just weave in your tail. Sometimes it's good to knot this as well, so I'll go under a few stitches and then go up through the loop I just made and knot my yarn, because I just do not want this to come undone in any way. And then I'll just weave in the rest of this end. Next up, I'm going to be sewing the eyes onto the head. I want to make sure that my sparkles are on the outside of the eyes, so I'm going to test out where I'm going to put them. They look really weird before I sew them on. And I'm going to sew this on just like I sewed on the muzzle. I'm going to make sure that my little sparkle tail ends are underneath. We do not want those showing. Now it's time for me to sew the head onto the blanket, my little tiny blanket here. So you can see here from my original blanket, I really like it when some of the body parts, like the ear or the hands, are holding on to the sort of frame that is created by the block joins. So this is actually the border down here at the bottom, and I stitched him on so he was holding that. So I am going to test out where I want to put this head, but I also need to make sure I like where I'm going to put the hands and the ears, because obviously once you attach the head, you are locked in. I think I want him to hold on to this side border here. I think that's really cute. And then I'm going to test out the ear. I am going to have this ear be folded over, and it does hang over onto what will be another block, but once again, I like that. That's what I want it to do. And this ear, I am going to stitch folded over a little bit, sort of like that. And once I get it all sewn on, he's ready to go. Look how adorable he's going to be. You can put this little guy on a Cuddle Buddies blanket or anywhere else you'd like a bunny applique. Happy crafting!